welcome to another episode of Dinner Live. As you guys know, we have launched Dinner Live. We're coming to you live 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Wednesday. I'm so glad that you have decided to join us for another episode. Today's recipes are delicious. We are actually making an incredible coconut lime chicken. And as a side, we're also going to be making a really, really yummy mango salad. So if you guys want to follow along with Dinner Live, we are always sharing the recipes a day before on Snapchat, on Instagram Story, and on my website, thedomesticgeek.com. So take a look for the full recipes there because of course we'd love for you to cook with us. It would be so much fun. Right now the full recipe is in the description box. If you want to take a look for it there, you can follow along. This chicken is absolutely delicious and really, really simple to make. As you know, I am all about dinners made easy. Easy weeknight cooking is really the secret to eating healthy all week long. So today's recipe is just that, super, super simple. For this recipe, I've got some coconut oil heating up in a skillet on my stove. I like using coconut oil because of course it is perfect to complement all of the rest of the coconut flavors in this dish. Usually I use a flavorless oil like a canola oil or something, but the coconut oil really works well here. I also have some boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I have standing by. I'm doing 3 today. You can really do as many as you want in this recipe depending on how large your family is and how many people you are feeding. As always, seasoning is critical. So we're just going to season our chicken breast with some salt and some pepper. And then once your oil is nice and hot, like mine is here, we are going to get this chicken into the pan. Ooh, it's got a good sizzle happening. Now, as I'm sure you know, I always like to cook my chicken top side down first. And the reason for that is because you get the best sear if you do it this way when the pan is still clean. So I like to do it top side down first and then cook the underside second. Now that I've exposed the underside of the chicken, it is time to season that up as well. As you know, I am hugely committed to seasoning both sides of my food. Since we eat both sides, it's important that they get treated equally. Now, what we're looking to do is brown our chicken for 2 to 3 minutes until it becomes nice and golden on top. We want to give it a head start before we start adding any sauce or anything. What ends up happening is that brownness is actually caramelization and it makes it super flavorful, but also really aesthetically pleasing. I'm just gonna set my chicken plate aside and I'm gonna get to work on preparing the sauce, that coconut lime sauce that is going to be used in this chicken. Now in this case, I am using actually half an onion, but I'm gonna cut the other half too because the other half I'm going to use in that incredible mango salad that I told you about. I love using red onions, both for their color and for their sort of sweet and mellow flavors, but you could use a yellow onion or a white onion if that's what you have. As you know, I don't get fussy with those sorts of things, so don't sweat it, my friends. Don't sweat it. Just gonna pop that onion aside. Also for the sauce, we are going to be using a red chili. Now, the thing about chilies is you kind of never know how hot it's gonna be until you try it. They really can vary in terms of heat. So if you are feeling a little cautious, you may wanna give it a taste first to see how much or how little you wanna use. In this case, because as you all know, I am heat obsessed, I am going to be using the entire chili in this recipe. This is a rather large chili, so if you have smaller chilies, you could use 2 or 3 if you wanted to, but I'm gonna stick with 1 because it's kind of huge and I wanna make sure that my mouth is not on fire all throughout my dinner. Now that my chili is chopped, I'm just gonna take a second and peek at my chicken. As we talked about a few weeks ago, it is really critical not to try to flip your chicken too quickly because if you do, you will shred it and it will not look beautiful. And of course, we eat with our eyes first, so it's important that our food looks as beautiful as it tastes. I'm not gonna lie to you, between the onion and the chili, my eyes are on fire. So if I get a little weepy, not to worry, it's only because I am standing over a pile of deliciousness. Now, One thing I do want to mention while this chicken is browning, I may have mentioned this before, but the Domestic Geek has been nominated for a Shorty Award. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Shorty Awards are, basically they're like the Oscars or the Grammys of the social media world. So it's a huge honor to be nominated. We're in a category actually with BuzzFeed's Tasty. So that goes to show the kind of stiff competition we're up against. We're also up there with some other amazing creators, some great Instagrammers, some great Snapchatters. So, voting closes tomorrow. If you have a minute between now and then, we would really, really appreciate your vote. It is a great way to show your support for the channel. So I really hope you'll head over and vote. I'll leave a link in the description box below, and you can take a look. See? Look, I tried to turn my chicken too quickly, and I shredded it. You see the shreds there? That's what happens when you get overexcited. And that's what happens if you're patient. It just turns beautifully, pulls away from the pan beautifully, and it's effortless. Once your chicken is flipped over, you can cook it for another minute or so on the other side, and then we're going to get to work on actually making our gravy or our coconut lime sauce, depending on what you want to call it. We're just going to remove our chicken from the pan to a pan that is standing by, like so. Because we basically just need to make some room for these beautiful onions that are about to hop in. They're just gonna hop into the pan, take a dip in all that beautiful coconut oil. Now, what is great is that this pan is now nice and hot, so everything is gonna cook much, much faster because it's had a chance to come together. We're going to put our onions right in the pan. We are also going to pop those beautiful chilies in the pan. There is a good chance that if you got a nice hot chili, you'll be able to feel the tickle in your throat when it hits the pan. Don't panic. It's actually a really good sign, everyone.
Don't panic.
Casey is at it with the puns. Don't panic, people. Let the pan do what the pan does. Don't panic. In the meantime, we are going to get started on the saucy part of this sauce. We've got some chicken broth here to start. To that, we are going to add some coconut milk. You probably know by now that coconut milk is quite high in fat, which is why I like to use the light version of coconut milk. We're also going to add a little bit of honey for sweetness. I do love watching honey come out of the bowl. It's always such a beautiful, drizzly shot. So we're going to get our honey in there. And then for the lime portion of our coconut lime sauce, we are going to be using the zest and the juice of 1 or 2 limes, actually depending on how big your limes are, really. Now, is anyone familiar with the song? I might be dating myself as I say this, but there's this song that goes, you put the lime in the coconut and turn it all around, or I think that's what the lyrics are. Is anyone familiar with this song? The good news is I don't know any of the words, so they can't accuse me of copyright infringement. I'll try to find a link to that song and leave it in the description box below so you can have a good laugh at my expense of how I just butchered it. But there's a very famous song about lime and coconut, and if I'm being really honest, that's what inspired tonight's menu. All right, so now that we've got the juice and the zest in there, oh, I almost forgot my cornstarch. That's really important, everyone. You gotta bear with me here. I get a little frazzled when I'm in the kitchen like this. Okay. Cornstarch is critical, and the reason we use cornstarch to thicken things up like this, or the reason we add cornstarch, is because that helps everything get really nice and thick and delicious once it hits the pan. So cornstarch, when it gets mixed with all of that, is going to help thicken up our sauce so it acts a bit like a gravy, like a nice saucy gravy. So immediately what you will smell when this hits the pan is a lot of lime and a lot of coconut, and that is a great sign. Once that sauce starts to simmer around the edges, as you can see it is doing right away in my pan, we are going to nestle in these beautiful chicken breasts like so. I'm just going to turn them once or twice in the sauce to make sure they get lots of flavor all over the place. And then we're going to pop the lid on and let them cook through. Are you with me so far? Look at these chilies. They're outrageous. Oh, that's going to be real delicious. On goes the lid. We're going to turn our heat down to medium and let that do its thing. I'm going to quickly clean up my space because you may have noticed that I'm a bit of a messy cook in the kitchen. It's true, everyone. I'm not afraid to admit it. I can be a bit of a mess. So I have this garbage bowl that is here, but that I never use because I just, have things flying all over the place all the time. All right, so for our salad, we are going to be making, we're going to be using some mango. That's really important. It's a mango salad. Now I pre-chop my mango, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you kind of never know how ripe your mango is going to be when you cut into it. So I wanted to just make sure that I could get through it. My mango is nice and ripe. It's really delicious. I'm just gonna have a chew break. Pause. There we go. Okay. It's it's important that your mango is nice and ripe because that adds a natural sweetness to your salad. If your mango is a little bit on the tart side or it hasn't quite ripened yet, no problem. You can just add a little drizzle of honey to your salad. I'm gonna eat the rest of this mango while I chop this red bell pepper. Feeling good? So this is a combination of beautiful flavors, but also beautiful textures. The onion and the red bell pepper add a lot of nice crispness to this, whereas that mango is nice and soft and juicy. So we have beautiful contrast, and of course that is a really important thing when you're cooking. Some people think I cook with too many red bell peppers. And by some people, I actually mean my fiance Greg, who actually loathes red bell peppers. So he gets really upset when I put them in basically everything. He's like, why, hon? Why with the red bell peppers all the time? I don't understand what's not to love about a bell pepper. They're so beautiful and sweet and crunchy and delicious. Now, I will tell you, this is probably the 5th red bell pepper that I have chopped today because we have been shooting videos all day here in the kitchen. Those videos will be going live for you next week. We did 3 delicious sheet pan suppers. Oh my gosh, they were amazing. We also did 3 tasty, healthy quinoa dinner recipes. So we've got a lot of goodness coming at you very soon. What I'm gonna do is look at me. I have totally, what ends up happening? You end up with more than your bowl can handle, but that's okay. We'll just toss this in a bigger bowl later. So I'm combining my beautiful mango with that red bell pepper. I've got those nice, crunchy, sweet red onions. I've got a big mess on my cutting board, which is how you know that I'm cooking, if there's a big mess on my cutting board. And I'm gonna season this up really, really simply with some lime juice. So we're just gonna start repeating some of the flavors that we're actually using in our main dish. And that's something that I like to do a lot in the kitchen. My sides usually have, a repeated flavor to whatever the main dish is featuring. So I'm gonna do 1 more lime in here. Again, if your mangoes are not ripe enough, this is a good place to add your honey. And then we are also going to add some fresh cilantro. I know some of you are thinking, cilantro, no, don't ruin it with cilantro. It's so funny. There's the camp that loves cilantro and the camp that hates cilantro, and there's no one in between. There's no one that feels mediocre about cilantro. It is such a love-hate situation. It actually makes me laugh all the time. But if you are a cilantro hater, it's totally fine. You can leave it out. In this salad, some mint would be really beautiful. You could use some fresh basil if you wanted to as well, or even some parsley. Parsley is always fresh. Nobody has that same feeling about parsley, do they? It's just cilantro that people hate that much. So that's it for our salad. It's really as simple as that. We'll get that plated over here. Now it is time to check on our chicken. Doing the gingerly touch, because sometimes this lid gets so hot and I accidentally burn myself, and it's really not pleasant, and I'm gonna always try not to burn myself during dinner live because that would not go along with my mantra of oh, dinner's so easy until you burn yourself. This is looking incredible. I am going to hit this with a little more lime zest, I think, just to add even more delicious limey flavor. Also, word to the wise, you should always try to zest whole limes, not a half a lime like I'm doing. I'm really improvising here because I'm live. If I was not doing this live, I would have gone over to that cart over there and grabbed another lime. But, we have to keep it together here. I'm also going to squeeze on a little bit more lime juice. I'm gonna turn this heat off so I don't accidentally set my kitchen on fire because that always goes terribly wrong. And then I'm going to finish this off with some beautiful cilantro. And my friends, dinner is served live. How great is that? We have some beautiful coconut lime chicken served with a gorgeous mango salad, lots of crunch, lots of flavor, really, really exciting stuff. Now, I'm just gonna clear my area. I will be taking questions today. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat. I am going to take some questions because of course I love chatting with you guys so much. I'm just gonna move this along to the side. I also thought today would be a really spectacular day for a bit of a champagne toast. Now, I don't usually drink champagne on Wednesday nights, I have to tell you, but you may or may not know that the Domestic Geek hit 1 million subscribers this weekend. Woo! And it's all thanks to you guys. Honestly, we could not be more grateful. Oh no, I don't even have onions and I'm about to get a little weepy. I'm gonna try to resist the urge. We are so grateful for the support that you have shown the channel over the last 2.5, 3 years. It has meant the world to us and we just feel so, so blessed to get to do this each and every day. And that you're loving the videos and watching and commenting and of course subscribing. So I'm gonna open this bottle of champagne and I wish I could toast each and every one of you because you have no idea how much your support has meant to us, all of us on this team. Casey, Elisa behind the camera, the lovely Sarah, Emily, Stephanie, Serene, Ashley, Shannon. It's taken a lot of people to get us where we are today, so I want to also thank all of them because they just make the most insanely huge contribution to this show. And I know you see me most of the time, but they are all huge, huge parts of what we do here on the Domestic Geek. So without further ado, let me see if I can do this in an elegant way. My bartending days are not that far behind me. And yeah, I'm gonna pour a little bubbly and propose a toast to each and every one of you that has supported the channel from the very beginning. You guys just make us so, so happy. And I also wanna say, keep it up, keep commenting, keep keeping us on our toes. If there's something you love, tell us. If there's something you don't love, tell us. We love hearing from you. Your input is hugely important to what we do here. So keep it coming. I'm gonna pass this along. They prefer not to be on camera, but that doesn't mean that they can't partake in today's toast. Everyone, congratulations. Yay! Here's to 1 million more. Thank you guys. Well, that's delightful. Now that we're good and liquored up, happy to take a few questions if you guys have some. I'll try not to drink and answer questions, otherwise my answers might get real funny over the next little while. You might recognize my sparkly champagne bottle from another video that I did a few months ago. We've been saving it for this very special occasion. Nothing like a little sparkly gold champagne bottle, am I right? All right, now they're all, okay, we're gonna get to the questions. Let's get started with London Hibbs. Hoping this is a dish you can sub tofu with. Okay, that is a really good question. This would actually lend itself really beautifully to tofu. So I did this with chicken, but I forgot to tell you guys, this is super versatile. You could do this with some shrimp, some whitefish, some tofu would be amazing. I would recommend tossing your tofu in some cornstarch before you cook it in your oil to get it nice and crispy. And then doing your sauce separately so that when you bring the two together, your tofu stays nice and crisp. I would also recommend making sure that you press your tofu first. If you're not familiar with the technique of pressing tofu, you basically just take a plate with a paper towel, put your tofu on it. Casey is totally downing his glass of champagne behind the camera. See, it's a distant memory. That was hysterical. He's like, I'm not gonna wait for this to be over before the camera's about to start doing this. So yes, you put your tofu on a plate with some paper towel, and then you put another plate on top, and then you put either a brick or a really heavy can on top. And the idea is you're gonna press the water out of your tofu and you end up with a much nicer texture in your tofu. So thank you for your question, London. What is the flavor difference between seared and unseared chicken? That is another awesome question. So in addition to it looking much, much better when you sear your chicken, because it gets that nice golden brown color, that nice golden brown color is actually something we call caramelization. So it's like, basically it's sugars cooking and becoming, sweet isn't really the word. I don't know what the word is, but it makes for a really beautiful crispy texture. It also makes for, it adds just the littlest bit of sweetness to your chicken, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's making sense, but that's the idea. Caramelization is a really fundamental technique in cooking. So you always want to sear your chicken first before you add anything into it. Otherwise, it ends up just being a bit bland and gets a bit of a rubbery texture, which I'm sure you're all familiar with if you've eaten your share of chicken. Can you do a collaboration video with you and Alicia from Mind Over Munch singing? I love that idea. So, it's so exciting that you brought this up. We may or may not secretly be working on some projects right now that I think you guys are going to love, and there may be some singing involved. I'm not sure if we mentioned when we were together during a previous dinner live that Alicia and I are both show tune freaks. So after shooting one day while she was in Toronto, we actually had like a show tune party in my kitchen where we sort of cleared everything off and danced and sung all around the room. And we probably should have posted it, but it was kind of ridiculous and hilarious. And we keep talking about doing a cooking musical. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we can make it happen. And if so, we will definitely let you guys know when and where and how to see it. What is my favorite type of cheese? Well, it's very rare that I meet a type of cheese that I don't love, so I should put that out there right now. I sort of go back and forth. So my very favorite cheeses are definitely blue cheeses. I like really strongly flavored cheeses. Some people think blue cheese is so gross, but I am a huge fan of blue cheese, and I happen to live in Canada, and we have incredibly good blue cheese that comes out of Quebec called Benedictine Blue. I didn't pronounce that with a French accent. I'm going to spare you my terrible French accent for now. But it is uber delicious, so I highly recommend if you get a chance to try it, you do. I also love Applewood smoked cheddar. Because, let's be serious, it's sort of like cheese that tastes like bacon. So it can't be bad. Applewood smoked cheddar. Take a look for it. Why did I start making YouTube videos? That's an awesome question. So by profession, I was actually a TV producer for about 10 years before I started making YouTube videos. I worked in TV for a very long time. I was a host first, and then I went behind the camera and became a producer. And while I loved making TV, when you make TV, you're kind of making someone else's show all the time. And I really wanted a creative outlet, somewhere where I could share my passion for food, but also just kind of make the videos I wanted to make. And that's what I did. YouTube was the place to do that at the time. So I started making YouTube videos about 5 years ago. Any of you who have been with me for that long, my first YouTube videos were not food videos, they were actually cleaning videos. And I like to think they're pretty hilarious looking back now. So if you want to take a look for those, I'll leave some funny links in the description box. You can check out the beginning. And then when I decided I really wanted to do this full time, we launched the Domestic Geek YouTube channel as a food channel, and that was just over 2.5 years ago, and the rest is history. 1 million subscriber history, which is really exciting. So that's why I started making YouTube videos, because I just wanted to do something creative and fun and to share my passion for food. Do I ever use a mortar and pestle? That is an awesome question. You'll notice there's always a mortar and pestle behind me on the counter. I love how they look, but I actually don't think I really ever use them in the kitchen. Maybe once or twice ever when I've just had to grind up some spices, and that's what they're actually used for. So they're really, really useful, but I have to be honest, I have not done a ton of mortar and pestling. That's not a thing. I don't think that's a verb. In my cooking career. So maybe I have to use it more. Maybe we need to figure out a way for me to use the mortar and pestle. That's what we will work towards.
Use it mortar and pestle?
Casey, I love the puns. So we can use it mortar and pestle in the future. Very good. Very good. From Emily, what is your favorite dish you have made on the channel? Ooh, there's so many awesome dishes. The ones that are the most memorable, I think I've probably said this before, my pecan pie, I've actually made it 3 times now on the channel because that's how much I love that recipe. I've done different iterations of it, but my pecan pie, I make it with apple butter and I'm saying pecan pie, but what I actually mean is pumpkin pie. And I can feel Elisa behind the camera being like, sister, you're talking about pumpkin pie. You should probably switch that up. So I'm saying pecan pie, but what I really mean is pumpkin pie. I actually have never made pecan pie on the channel. That's something that I would love to make because I do love pecan pie. Freudian. Pumpkin pie, I make it with apple butter and pumpkin puree. It's got a ginger snap crust and it's topped with pecans, which is probably why I made that mistake. It is incredible. I highly recommend you look up that video. I also once made a chocolate peanut butter pretzel pie. That was outrageous. And that pie, even though I made it room temperature when I made it, I highly recommend eating frozen because it is even more delicious when it comes out of the freezer. It's basically like a peanut butter cup, but out of the, anyways, it's incredible. I recommend you try it. I think those are some of my favorites. All right. What is the easiest recipe for a dinner party? Ordering in. Sorry, I can't help myself. Sorry, I just gave away my Canadianisms. I do apologize an awful lot. Yes, I definitely think ordering in is the greatest recipe for dinner parties. No, I really love to use puff pastry for dinner parties. And it's because puff pastry is the best way to get maximum visual impact with minimum effort. So I have 2 different videos that show you how to use puff pastries to make really cute appetizers and hors d'oeuvres that will wow guests, but are almost effortless to put together. I will leave those links in the description box below. How do you get the creativity and inspiration to cook and not be intimidated by cooking so many different types of meals? So I find food endlessly fascinating. And I love it all. In fact, I will tell you, one of the reasons why the Domestic Geek does everything 3 delicious ways is because when I started the channel, I could never decide on just one recipe. You know, I would be making cinnamon buns and I couldn't decide if I wanted to make a chai spice cinnamon bun or a peanut butter and jelly cinnamon bun. So I would make it 3 ways. And that's sort of what became the hallmark of the channel, all of the variety. The truth is, I love doing the channel because it gives me so many opportunities to experiment, and a lot of those opportunities are inspired by you guys. So I will get comments asking for something that I've never tried before using an ingredient that I'm not super confident about. A really good one right now is eggplant. A ton of you guys have asked for eggplant recipes, and eggplant, I only know a handful of ways to make it. So now I'm gonna have to expand my own horizons and go find some really great eggplant recipes to test, to try, to evolve, and then to share with you guys on the channel. So that's one of my favorite parts about doing the channel is just getting this amazing opportunity to play and experiment in the kitchen. Like, who could ask for more out of a job? On that note, I think it is time to get that chicken eaten. I'm sure Casey is starving, as is Elisa. So I want to thank you guys once again for all of the incredible support that you have shown the channel. And thank you for joining me today for this celebration, our 1 million subscriber celebration. It feels funny even to say it out loud, but I could not be more thrilled. And I promise you that if you subscribe, there is lots more deliciousness where this came from. Thanks, guys.